Hey Bookish Babes, and welcome to the first video and the first TBR of the brand new year.
We are monsters. We give and we take.
For those that are new around here, my name's Rainy. I read all types of books, so if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my channel grow. In today's video, we are going to be completing our first TBR of the year using my TBR game, which I need to go get the board, so I'll be back in a jiffy. We are doing the one with the TBR, which is my friend's themed TBR game. If you are new, I have a whole playlist explaining this, but I'm going to also just explain it for you super quick. Basically, I took the board game or the trivia game that they did in Friends and I broke it down into 4 different categories. Now, this game has changed over the years into a mood reading game, and so I'm going to break it down for you real quick just for a new year refresher. I have 4 categories of books: fears and pet peeves, ancient history, literature, and it's all relative. And within that, I changed what those means. They used to mean like thriller and horror, romance. They used to mean genres. Now they mean different types of books. So I'm pretty sure the fears and pet peeves is authors I've never read from before. Ancient history is authors I have read from before. Literature is series, because I need to knock out some series. And it's all relative is friend recommendations or trending books, whatever I want it to be. And then we also have the lightning round where I complete some friends' questions and I get a consequence if I don't do a great job assessing my friends' trivia. Now, all the colors on here are for different genres of books now. That is what I have made it to be. Yes, I know where this post-it is. My daughter peeled it off the other day. I will grab it in a minute. And I think blue, if I'm right, this could be wrong, is fantasy, red, pink is romance, orange is like historical fiction / literary fiction, green is thriller, and yellow is my choice. I can put whatever book I want there. And so how I made this mood ready is I made all of these numbers into books, specific books on my shelves that I know I really, really want to get to soon. That's what I did. And so it was a little tricky, but since I've updated it for the new year, I figured I would put on the screen all the books that are at our potentiality of getting chosen. And I've decided this year that if I skip the same book 3 times, it's going off my TBR and I'm unhauling it. So that's fun as well. All right, let's get started. I do 6 rolls every time. A 7th roll if, I mess up. And let's get started. So I'm going to post on the screen right now what books we have available to us. But as far as new to me authors, we have Birthday Girl, Blood Mercy, Haunting Adeline, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, Last House on Needless Street, One Dark Window, Tourette, Binding 13, Gothicana, and The First Day of Spring. Although, I need to change Birthday Girl because she is not a new to me author anymore. So, I'm not going to do that right now. I'll just change it in a little bit. Then we have authors I've read from before: No One Can Know, A Fate of Wrath and Flame, Love Redesign, One True Loves, Jade Legacy, The Nature of Witches, Mad Honey, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, No Exit, and The Great Alone. Then we go to series and we have The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, There Are No Saints, Bloody Heart, Beartown, The Girl in 6E, The Overstory, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, Zodiac Academy 2, Ruthless Fae, The Family Upstairs, and Reckless. And yes, The Overstory is not a series, but I didn't have a lot of historical and lit fic series, so I just bear with me. And then anticipated reads / books I need to read: King of Greed, Only If You're Lucky, Curse of the Wolf King, A Little Life, Crying in H Mart, The Predator, Crown of Midnight, Project Hail Mary, White Smoke, and A Court of Mist and Fury. So this is going to be a fun time, okay? Okay. Let's get jiggy. I'm going to figure out a new to me author that I can put there instead, and then we're going to start the game. Alright, I changed it from Birthday Girl to The Dare by Harley LaRue because I really want to read that and The Losers, and I just got a really beautiful edition of it, so that's what we're going to go with. But let's do our first roll. So we rolled a 32, which on here is a romance underneath fears and pet peeves, which means it's going to come from an author that is new to me. So let's take a look, shall we? I've been wanting to read this book for a hot minute, and I'm so glad I finally am, and that is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Yes, this is about high schoolers apparently, and it's YA technically, but I've heard this is a beautiful book. However, this book is almost 600 pages, and look how tiny the frickin' font is. That is insane. This is really like a 1,000-page book. But I'm so excited. I honestly don't know very much about this. I know that it has rugby in it. I know that it has a boy named Johnny. And that's all I'm really going in with on this. But I know it is beloved. I know that everybody is loving it. I know everybody hates this cover. However, I really like it, so I'm glad that I have the original covers. But I'm so excited that I finally get to put this on a TBR and start my boys of Tom and Journey. Also doing Bookymon, a year-long readathon hosted by Meredith from Reads with Meredith. I believe Binding 13 also works for The Chicken, which is every month of the year you must read at least one book with yellow and orange, black and white on the cover. And so it has all of those right here. On to roll 2. So roll 2 was a 12, which if we look for it on here, it is nowhere to be found. I'm kidding. It's a romance under literature, which means it's under series. So which romance series are we going to be continuing with? Oh yeah, this game's treating me well. We're continuing on in the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark, and we are reading Bloody Heart, which is the 4th one, which follows our big main character, our big brother Dante. And I'm pretty sure this is a second chance romance with an accidental pregnancy, and that's not normally my thing, but I've heard that it's done really well in this book, and so I'm so very excited. I love Miss Sophie Lark. I love her Mafia world. I got into her last year. She's one of my favorite authors from last year, so I can't wait to continue on with this book. This is seriously, the TBR gods are just blessing me honestly. On to roll 3. So we got a 25, which on here is It's All Relative. It's an orange, which means it's a historical fiction / literary fiction / nonfiction. Basically, all the other types of fictions. And it is an anticipated read or a book that I really just want to get to soon. So let's see which one it's going to be. I put a simple goal on here this year to try to read at least one memoir or one nonfiction a month. And I'm going to try to stick to that. And so hopefully I can knock this one off. And that is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Z. And it is in my other room. I keep all my nonfiction in my bedroom. I don't wish about getting up for it right now, so I'm gonna have to pull it up to look at what it is about. It says it is Michelle writing about visiting the Korean supermarket H Mart after her mother's death. And I know that she was in a band, I think called like Breakfast Dinner or something like that, and I'm very excited to read this book. I've heard that it's beautiful. I've heard that it'll make me cry. I just want to know what everyone loved about this memoir when they read it. I think it was popular like a year or two ago. So yeah, I'm glad that this made its way onto my list. On to roll 4. So number 4 was a 36, which means we have literature. It's a green one, which means it's a thriller, and this means it's a part of a series. Do you know how hard it was to find a thriller that was part of a series? So there's only like 2 options, so it's one or the other. So let's see which one it ends up being. All right, let me go get it. And we are starting off with The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tourette. I've been wanting to read this for a hot minute, so I'm glad we finally made it. Basically, this girl's life is simple as long as she follows 3 rules. 1, don't leave the apartment. 2, never let anyone in. 3, don't kill anyone. She's obeyed these rules for 3 years, but rules were meant to be broken. So I think she's like a cam girl, but she also likes killing people. So she like locks herself in to not do it. But then one day something makes her have to leave her house and she's going to end up having to kill someone. I don't know too much about this. I just know that Haley Hughes loves this book. And so I should probably love this book because we do have pretty aligning tastes. But yeah, this has been on my list for a hot minute. I've never read an A.R. Tourette. I've heard that they are going to be a thriller girly that I'm going to enjoy, so let's get jiggy with it. On to roll 5. 48, I assume, is the sticky note that fell off, and when I referred back to my digital spreadsheet, I'm pretty sure I found the sticky note. It's right here, but it is not sticky anymore because my daughter took it off and now there's dog hair all over it, so I'm going to have to get a new sticky note. But it's 48, so let's see which one that's going to be. I am finally going to be finishing the Crowns of Nyaxia series by reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Miss Carissa Broadbent. Now, I'm putting this one on the TBR. However, I fully plan on rereading and annotating Serpent and the Wings of Night this month first. So if I don't get to this, it's because I did that first, because The Serpent and the Wings of Night, we know, is my favorite book of last year. I am so excited to get to this book. I'm so beyond excited. Also, you can see my little library of Rainy Blue. I got a embosser for Christmas, and so I've been doing that to all my favorite books. I cannot tell you much about what's going on in this because of the sequel, but it follows Rain and Araya and what happened after the events of the Kajari, which is the Hunger Games-esque type vampiric tournament. I am so scared to read this because I don't want I don't want this to end. That's the thing. I don't want the journey to end. But sometimes we've got to, right? Right. Okay, moving on to roll 6. Also, I forgot to mention that Ashes and the Star-Cursed King works for Bookymon 2 for Dagger, reading a book with a weapon on the cover. We rolled a 10, which according to this is right here. It's orange. It's an ancient history, which means it's an author I've read from before. And we are reading a great one. We're reading a book that I've been waiting to read for a hot minute because last year I wanted to finish all of Jodi Picoult's books and I didn't do that, so we're doing that this year. And that is Mad Honey. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I love Jodi Picoult, so I know that I'm going to love this. I know that this is about Olivia. She has this picture-perfect life. She lives in Boston. She's married to a brilliant surgeon, raises their beautiful son, Asher. It ends when her husband reveals a darker side. So then Lily is familiar with do-overs too. When she and her mom relocate to New Hampshire for her final year of high school, they both hope it'll be a fresh start. And their paths cross when Asher falls for the new girl in school. Lily falls for him too. Then one day, Olivia receives a phone call. Lily is dead and Asher's being questioned by the police. And Olivia is adamant that her son is innocent, but she doesn't know if he is because of the darkness in her or in his father. I'm very interested in reading this. I know it was written by two people, but whatever. Like, I'm just focusing on the Jodi Picoult part because I love her so very much. I cannot wait to dive back into a Jodi Picoult courtroom classic because there wouldn't be one without that. On to the lightning round. How this works is I get 30 seconds to answer 5 friends' questions, and I have to get at least 3 of them right in order to avoid a punishment. And sometimes I do a fantastic job on this when I am actually watching, Friends pretty frequently. And sometimes I fail at stupid questions because I haven't watched Friends in a hot minute, and my brain just freaks out. It really does. Okay? So let me set my timer for 30 seconds. Let me put a little, thing on here so that you can see it as well. And here we go. Oh gosh. The night Monica and Chandler got engaged, what song did they dance to? Oh, My Funny Valentine. I'm pretty sure. That could be wrong. Or no, The Way You Look Tonight. The Way You Look Tonight. How much did Phoebe receive as a deposit to sing at Monica and Chandler's wedding? 200? What did Monica's parents do with their wedding fund? Didn't they turn Ross's room into a gym? Which friend massaged an old man with a pair of wooden spoons? Ross. Which animal ate Rachel's face cream? Marcel the monkey. No. The duck. That's the answer. The duck. Oh God, I could be wrong. All right, let's see. They got engaged to Wonderful Tonight. Did not get that. Phoebe received $1. Did not get that. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to do a lightning prompt. They bought a beach house. I did get Ross and I did get the duck. See, this is what happens. This is telling me that I need to go watch Friends again. This is telling me that. So I'm going to go do that right after this. Let's see what lightning prompt I got. Received green, which all it says is add a spin. Yay, I get to add one more book to my lovely TBR. Go me. We rolled a 46. Which is somewhere here. It's an orange one again. It's from ancient history, so it's authors I've read from before. Let me go see what I am going to have to read. Oh, Lord. Okay. Now, it told me that I need to read The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, because I've read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I have not read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I have read, I've read not even this much. My son moved my bookmark, which I found my bookmark. So I don't know where I actually was in this book. I'm going to have to look at Goodreads for that. I was about 40% into this book, and I was absolutely loving it. And then life happened. And I just put a girl down. Like, you understand. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to change this and put this back on the TBR so I can finish this book because I was living, laughing, loving when I was reading said book. Okay? And now if you say, Rainy, that is not how this works. It is my TBR game. I say it works. Okay? I say it works. So I'm going to read this instead. And I feel much better at completing this. I would not read The Great Alone if we put it on the TBR, but I will read this, okay? So, let's just roll with it. As my TBR game goes, we have some pretty big, chunky books on the stack for this. And I'm a little bit terrified, if we're being honest. A little bit terrified. So, now let's talk about other books that I'm adding and readathons I'm participating in and all that jazz. So first off, I'm doing Buzzword for this year, Buzzwordathon, and I'm actually going to do it. And so I'm going to be reading 2 books for this, hopefully. I want to read at least the first book, but since it's part of a series, I figured I should just finish the series in January. So the word for January is there in all of its different formats and variations. And so I'm going to be reading the only book on my shelf that had that. There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark, and There Is No Devil by Sophie Lark, which is her Sinners duet. It's a serial killer romance. I'm pretty sure they're both serial killers and they fall in love with one another, but they also are trying to kill each other. Something like that. I don't know. I just know I love Miss Sophie. I don't need to know much more than that. But I'm very excited to finally get to these. I've heard that they're great, fabulous, they deserve all the love, so I'm going to give them all the love, hopefully, this month. So I'm reading those for Buzzwordathon. Next, we can talk about Winterween is hosted by Gabby Reads every year, and she has a couple of prompts for this time, and I'm going to try to remember them all so I can tell you what books I'm reading for them, because I know the books that I'm reading, so maybe I'll remember what the prompt was. The first one is always just read a book in the dark, so I could read any of these books in the dark. I don't have to actually pick one for that. I do know that one is for reading a witchy book, and so I'm going to be reading The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, because I loved Bring Me Your Midnight. It was number 3 in my top reads of last year, and also all of her covers are just stunning. But I know that it has something to do with nature, because that's always Rachel Griffin's thing. But I know that it's talking about witches that have maintained the climate. Claire wants nothing to do with her power. I think she has to save the world from some nature destruction. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that I cannot wait to read this because I love her writing. It's very whimsical and lyrical and beautiful. Excited I'm getting to this. Another prompt was to read a book with an isolated snowy setting, and so I chose No Exit by Taylor Adams. It is time, okay? I read The Last Word by him last year, absolutely loved it. I've heard nothing but good stuff about this book, and I am like the last person on earth to read this, and I also want to watch the adaptation, even though I've heard you shouldn't, and it's quite terrible, so I'll take that with a grain of salt. But this one basically is about a girl that on her way home, I believe, from college, she stops at a rest stop and gets snowed in there, but she realizes that there is a car parked there with a girl in a cage in the back of the car. And so she is potentially with a murderer slash kidnapper person trapped in a little, you know, one of those rest stops on the side of the road with like 5 other people, and she has to figure out who it is and also save the little girl. So I'm very excited for this. I'm just excited to finally get to this, and I feel like it's the perfect time of year for this in this wintry type of time. Read a book with a W in the title, and that is White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm very excited to finally get to this. I absolutely loved The Weight of Blood from her from last year. I know this is a haunted house type book. I don't think that everybody I know loved it, but I do love the way that Tiffany Jackson writes, so I'm hoping I will just really appreciate this. Plus, I want to get this off my shelf because I bought it right when it came out, and I didn't read it. But I know it's a haunted house book. That's all I really know about it. Should be a fun time. Okay, so I'm actually reading White Smoke for purple on the cover. See, this is why you need to look at your phone when you're saying this stuff. The one that I'm reading for a W on the title is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. So this is her newest book. It just came out. In fact, I was going to listen to the audiobook and I realized it doesn't actually come out till the 23rd, so I'm just going to have to read this physically. All I know it is 3 sisters, 2 murders, and too many secrets to count. I didn't love her other book, What Lies in the Woods. I gave it a 3-star, but I'm hoping that maybe this one will be more interesting to me. It's pretty short. It's only about 200, no, it's 300 pages, never mind. I thought it was 200 something. Either way, I can read it real quick. It'll be fine. So, gonna add this to the docket. So as far as Winterween goes, this is my stack. It starts on the 5th, ends on the 11th. Should be a good time. I think it'll be pretty doable. And then I am also participating in TBR-A-Thon with Leandra, which if you're watching this on the day that this released, then I'm actually going to be on sprints with her later on for like the first day of TBR-A-Thon. And I had originally thought I was going to do like 1 board a week, but like let's be realistic, that's not going to happen. I am going to do 2 different boards. And so I've decided I'm going to start with the roll a dice board because I just have so much fun with that type of thing. Like that is just the type of thing that I like to do. And so I'm going to tell you about the books that I'm going to read for the first one. So I am double dipping using some of the books that I already have on my TBR for that. Like for example, this is the order that I rolled things in. I don't know if I'll actually get to these or not, but for Magical Plot, I'm reading Nature of Witches. For Continue or Start a Series, I'm reading There Are No Saints. For Main Character Owns a Pet, that was extremely difficult. And finally, a friend, Kelsey, told me what book to read, and I'm so glad that this works out. Finally have an excuse to read Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I've been wanting an excuse for this. I've been wanting something for so long, and I finally have one. Plus, I just want to read. I want to watch the adaptation that Brie Larson did because I heard she did fabulous in this. I don't know very much. I know that it's in the 1960s. I know it's STEM. I know it also has a show, a cooking show in it. I don't know much else, but I know that she has a pet, and so that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Chunky hardback, I was going to read Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and then for 5-star prediction, I was going to read Bloody Heart. So honestly, I'm making this easier on myself. That is the goal, right? Make it easier on yourself. Now, as far as Patreons go, and books that I'm in, and clubs that I'm in, I have decided this year that I'm not going to participate in all of them. I'm just going to read it if I end up reading it, if I have the book, if I don't. Like, for example, Gabby Reads and them are reading Bright Young Women. I don't own that book. I want to read that book, but I don't own it, so I'm not doing it. Books and Lala doesn't do one in January. Haley Hughes hasn't announced what she's doing yet. Jan did. I don't think I wanted to read the main book, but they do a buddy read book, and I did want to read that, so I'm going to put it on my TBR. Because it's currently on my way to me from Book of the Month, and that is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. I've heard it's like a serial killer-esque romance. Did you get the vibe for this month? It's serial killer, in case you didn't get it. It's serial killer. And that's all I really need to know about it. So it has a beautiful cover. I've been wanting to read this for forever. I know book 2 comes out this year. What better time to prioritize it right now? But I'm going to read it with the Lair and the Vamp Girlies from Jan's Patreon. And then the last readathon that I'm going to talk about, because I actually do participate in this one. I really, really love this one that I do. I just read A Dawn of Onyx for it at the end of the year, and I absolutely loved that book. It is a fantasy romance book club. It's called Who Did This to You by Tori from Tori Between Pages, which if you don't follow her booktube is excellent for fantasy romance girlies. And we are reading A Kiss of Iron, which is the first book in the Shadows of the Tenebrous Court by Claire Sager. I've never read a Claire Sager book. I've always wanted to, and I love that we use Fable for this. Fable allows you to actually like put real-time responses to like your thoughts in each chapter. Like it breaks it down chapter by chapter, which I'm really, really loving. And I was able to like go in and watch other people and what their thoughts were like in real time. It was really awesome. And so I'm very excited to get to that. That is the one book club that I always do try to participate in, but I've missed a couple of months. And so I'm going to read those hopefully sooner than later because she always has great picks for that. She really does. I do have a couple of other ideas up my sleeve, but I don't want to give away everything that I'm reading. And if you're like, Rainy, that's already so many books. Yeah, I know. It is, okay? It is. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. It is what it is. So if we go off of the books that I've talked about, oh Lord, we're going to be here forever. We're going to be here forever. Okay? Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed my first TBR of the year. If you got to the end of it, let's put a beaker, like a science beaker or something sciencey for lessons in chemistry because that's the first thing that I saw. Or you could put a cooking emoji because there's also cooking in that. And let me know a book that is on your TBR, probably the book you're most excited about so that we can talk about books together in the comments. And with that, I will see you guys with another book, or not another book, another video super soon. Bye.